Now, I started my YouTube channel in January 2017, and I have been so dying to make this video one day. I knew the day would come at some point in time where my UCF Knights of my alma mater would go ahead and join a power conference. And I knew this day would come. And now, with the exit of Oklahoma and Texas going from the Big 12 to the SEC, it opened up a great opportunity where UCF was first in line to essentially move on to a greater conference from where they are at right now with the American Athletic. Now, I want to kind of go through really my history with UCF and pretty much just my life. Now, I grew up a huge Gator fan. My dad went to school out in Florida, and I was going to Florida Gator games before I even knew what was going on in life. You know, I mean, there were pictures of me at Gator games when I was just a baby, and I had been going to games every year. Growing up in Jacksonville, I was at the Florida Georgia game every year. I grew up a real diehard Gator fan. And then as really I started to head closer to high school graduation, I was kind of looking at different options, and I said, look, I flat out don't have good enough grades to get into Florida. I mean, I had good grades. I think I graduated with like a 4.3 weighted GPA, but even that is too low to get into Florida when it comes to their bar of excellence to kind of get in there. And then many people, they kind of go through the whole Santa Fe 2-year thing, then go into Florida. But when I was kind of taking a step back and looking at it, I don't know. Florida wasn't really super attractive to me. And a big reason why is this really the city of Gainesville. And this isn't to disrespect anybody, and this isn't to kind of put down Gainesville. I had just been to Gainesville so many times that rural area did not really super appeal to me. And when I looked at it, I said, look, I can go to literally Orlando. Orlando, it's like 2 hours away from Jacksonville. It's kind of a growing school, and really just Orlando and a newer campus. UCF has a very new and it's a very beautiful campus. I really said, look, like, this would give me a great opportunity to go over there and, start my own legacy, get over there and still be close to home, and also be around a bunch of opportunity when it comes to post-graduation where I could find a job and really have a smooth transition. And that's really exactly what I did. I mean, I found an internship. I graduated December 2016. I found an internship December 2015. So I had a whole entire year of interning in my field of study, and I was offered a full-time job upon graduation. And and I still live in the Orlando area. You know what I mean? If going to UCF, being in Orlando, it really offered a lot of people an opportunity when it comes to all the jobs out here, an opportunity to kind of stay where you're at, which is kind of a great transition for me. Now, when I went to UCF, like, I didn't think anything of their football program. I mean, I was honestly going to go there. I didn't think anything about football. I said, what, it's going to suck not going to Florida because it'd be great to go to Gator games, and UCF doesn't really have anything. But, it's fine. I'm still going to, go over there and really enjoy all the other kind of things it has to offer. And, I still got to enjoy tailgates. Tailgates are freaking awesome with my friends and stuff like that. And it was really just a, wild kind of environment for me to kind of be around and still kind of get into the, all the, drinking on campus and whatnot. But when I looked at UCF as a football school, I pretty much put them in a category of FAU, FIU, like Florida A&M. I was like, look, like, there's no chance, UCF's going to have like a great football team. And also me being spoiled going to Gator games where I'm going seeing Florida LSU, Florida Georgia, Florida FSU, all these great matchups. I go over to UCF and I look at their schedule, and it's like, UCF, UAB, because at the time they were in a Conference USA, UCF, UAB, UCF, like Marshall, just all these matchups. And it's like, I'm watching games where Florida would usually do tune-up games against. But luckily, they were only in the Conference USA 1 year. I went to UCF. My first year was fall 2012. So they were in Conference USA 1 year before they moved on to the Big East, which turned into the American Athletic, which the matchups were better. It went from, those schools to all of a sudden playing Cincinnati. They got back into the rivalry with USF. They had Memphis. So the games were a little bit better, but it still wasn't that really upper tier. But my second year at UCF, things really took off. UCF, I think they finished the year, I think 12-1 or 13-1. They went on to have, play in a BCS championship game, or not championship, but New Year's Six Bowl. They won the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor, who ironically enough is in the Big 12 right now. And the quarterback of UCF, Blake Bortles, wound up getting drafted to my favorite football team with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it was like, man, like my second year at UCF, I'm like, dude, this is actually pretty awesome. You know what I mean? UCF put on a really awesome product on the field. My favorite team drafted my school's quarterback. It was just, such a cool freaking time. And then UCF just really turned into really a great football school. I mean, during my time there, they had won several AAC championships games. They had guys get drafted in the first round, like Rashad Perriman. Obviously, like I said, Blake Bortles, Mike Hughes, a bunch of guys kind of go on to make impacts. And then, upon graduation, when I graduated in 2016, the year after, they had that undefeated run, 2017, with Mackenzie Milton, Scott Frost, and, went on to defeat Auburn in the, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And it was just like, man, this is such a cool freaking thing to happen. And then obviously, they had some success the year later. They went undefeated in the regular season before losing to LSU. But and then now being in a situation where I'm actually seeing my team move on to a bigger conference. I knew it would come one day. UCF has a lot of great things to offer. I believe they have the first or second biggest enrollment amongst public universities in the nation. So that is one thing going for us. We obviously have an on-campus stadium. The on-campus stadium, it's not too big right now. It seats 45,000, but there are plans for expansion. So that is another thing that's really cool. They have a great TV market over here. And it's just Orlando. It's a great area in general for a growing school. And one thing that's cool is like when I was going to Gator games or whatever, I was like born into that. You know what I mean? I was born into a team being in the SEC, winning national championships, going to the SEC championships game, being around all that. But me going to UCF, I was really there to see a program grow from something not very big into something huge. You know what I mean? I was able to be there to see the team rise. I didn't inherit a UCF team. I didn't go here and they were in the Big 12 and doing all this success. I had gone there before they had really done anything. I mean, they had some nice, bowl wins. They've had some nice seasons. They did some good stuff, in other kind of conferences. But, when I went there, they were Conference USA. Before that, I think they were in like the MAC. And, obviously a Division II school before that. So they weren't anything when I went there. And then now, just seeing a program rise the way it did, it has been such a cool freaking time. And then now, UCF is prepared to move on with other great schools. Cincinnati's had a lot of success. They're right now a top 10 ranked team. Also, Houston has had some success. And the last team is BYU, who obviously, they just had the second overall pick go with Zach Wilson. And they've had a pretty good kind of football school over there. The main thing UCF has to work on is basketball. Their basketball team is kind of lagging behind the others, especially with the Big 12 being such a great basketball conference. But really what this does is you look at UCF and just the Big 12 in general. I think the Big 12, there's arguments. Is it still a Power 5 conference? One thing that the Big 12 is going to lack right now with, the departure of Texas and Oklahoma is really that blue blood program. You know what I mean? Like SEC is obviously heads and shoulders above everybody else. But you look around, the ACC, the last 5 years, it's really been Clemson and everybody else. The Big Ten, it's pretty much been Ohio State and everybody else. Obviously mixed in there, you got some great programs. ACC has Florida State, obviously, who's looking like they're kind of back on the rise. And the Big Ten, they have Michigan, who has been lagging down a little bit, also Nebraska. But when you look at the Big 12, they are at the very least a top, if you're going to consider the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or whatever it is nowadays, if you're going to consider that a power conference, then the Big 12 definitely is. The Big 12 has a great collection of, pretty good teams. They don't have the elite upper echelon team like I was kind of stating earlier, but they've got good teams. Cincinnati's going over there. TCU's been a good team. Oklahoma State, obviously, UCF going over there. It's a really cool time. Really for all this to happen. I'm very thankful that I went to UCF and I could have gone to USF at the time. They were at the time they were better than UCF. They had a lot more success, and right now they're just really in a pit of misery. They're just now catching up with the fact that they kind of had success way too early, and that kind of got to their heads. UCF, they were humble enough to say, okay, we got to build an on-campus stadium, and that really propelled a lot of things forward for them, and just putting a lot of money into athletics, because a lot of people get mad. They're like, why did this school put so much money toward athletics? Well, Athletics is what brings money home, and athletics is what kind of enables you to kind of put money in different buckets when it comes to around the school. And it's the main point of exposure when it comes to just a school. You know what I mean? I don't know anything about, these different like Michigan's academics or Nebraska's academic. I just know them because of football. You know what I mean? If you're in the state, obviously you know a little bit more, but if you're an out-of-stater, you don't know a lot about these different, kind of programs. So it's super, super exciting to be a UCF fan right now, man. And, I know back during UCF's big run, UCF, I'm not going to sit here and say that they deserve to be, back in 2017 when they went undefeated, that they deserve to be in any kind of playoffs, because the way the playoff is currently formulated with the 4 teams, they probably didn't deserve to be up there. But I will say that it sucks that in any league that you play in, any, collegiately or in the professional leagues, any time a team beats every opponent they play against, they're going to get a shot at a championship game. That is the big flaw with college football, where it's not the same. And it looks like, with an expanded playoffs, that's going to kind of be better and able to do that. And, UCF at the time, they had a good team, but at least, we might have gotten whooped by Alabama, but give us a chance to get whooped by Alabama. You know what I mean? Not, sit here with the what ifs. And, there's been stuff in the past with teams going undefeated, like Boise State back in the day, without getting a chance. It's a big flaw about college football, but that's just how it is. And it looks like they are kind of getting ready to fix that. But, this is going to bring me back into college football in a lot of ways. I am not a big college football guy. I just don't like the way it's currently formulated with the 4 teams in the playoffs, and you're pretty much recycling out the same teams every year. There's like 6 teams that are back in it, and there's everybody else. Hopefully this, allows some upsets and stuff like that, and it's going to be really exciting. So I want to cap it off there, man. Big time UCF fans, super excited about this move. And with all that said, guys, I know this is a Jaguar channel, but if you're out there, if you're a UCF fan, man, drop a charge on down below. Thank you for watching. Go Knights and go Jags.